definitely. I was not aware of the huge complexity of many things in this digital world, the language itself, the technicalities, the complexity of the different channels across the different points of the customer journey. So yes, I'm quite happy about what I have learned. Well, it's a lot. From the very beginning, well, you have 2 or 3 theoretical sessions, but immediately after you are thinking and reflecting about who your buyer persona is. You have to design about his or her customer journey, and immediately after you are giving an imaginary budget that you have to allocate in a marketing digital campaign. So that's also the beginning, and immediately after you get into a real restaurant, into a real business case. You have to promote with all the channels and you have to make real investment. So it's everything but theoretical only. It's very, very economically oriented, because at the end of the day you are promoting a real business. Well, it is not, but it looks like a real business. You are promoting a restaurant, and you need to learn about how to maximize and optimize your marketing investment. So you get to know KPIs as CTR, CPC, marketing return on investment, MROI. So at the end of the day, you know how profitable or not are your different decisions you've taken. Well, for the main teacher, it was obvious that he has lived many years already in this world, so he's definitely several heads ahead of us in terms of experience, maybe because of his experience in the Anglo-Saxon world, maybe, but he really had very, very clear in his mind what was going on and what's happening in this digital world, with very interesting examples that we got in the sessions. And as for the assistant teacher, well, at the end of the day, when we have to put the hands into the assignments, he was the one that really helped us in finding the clues and not getting lost in the middle of different, and I would say thousands of options. Sometimes he was there to tell us, well, guys, these things first, and second this one, and then you get to the conclusion. So I'm happy with the support I got. Well, I had already identified buyer persona in different projects I had managed before. I think the answer is very clear. If you don't that, you get completely lost and you don't know where to begin from. Digital marketing is not very much different from ordinary marketing or classical marketing from 10 to 20 years ago. You have to identify the persona who are likely to buy your products, and to identify where they live, how do they behave, what are their expectations, why should they buy your product or another one, and then construct and build all your proposition around all the ways she or he lives, communicates, spends the free time, works, travels, goes from work to home, what does he does or she at the end of the day, which is the social media that she or her uses for communication. And only knowing that, and making suppositions, of course, but at the end of the day, stats allow you to make, let's say, solid suppositions. You can bring a proposition for these kinds of customers. Okay, well, the complex of buying something is becoming more and more complex every day. It's composed of different stages, from the awareness or the getting the idea that you need something to buy, to the final phase of this stage when you decide to become loyal to that product or brand. And in the middle you have different stages with different attitudes that you have to tackle. In these different processes and stages, customers use different media, different channels, social media, digital advertising, ear to mouth, the website of your product, of your service, and it's very, very different to know what are going to do, how are they going to feel, and how can you influence them in those different milestones of the process with different messages coming from different channels. If you don't do that correctly, probably you don't have, or you won't get the optimized return of investment. Well, writing HTML code was not my cup of tea, I have to say, but it was interesting to realize how just in small details you can make some kind of fine-tunings in the websites that make them more attractive or more visual or more charming to the eyes of the customer. We learned how to deliver attractive messages by including the right words in the right place. It looks something is like in the old times when you placed your products into the shelves. They had to be at TA's height. Now the words and the messages have to follow the same logic. Well, editing is not something terrific to do, but it teaches you why it's so important. And about this SEO strategy, it learned me, or teaches me about how many useless websites there are in the world because they are not well designed to catch the customer's eye and the customer's attention. So I think that we learned that we have to, let's say, package our content within a very, very nice and effective website. And the devil is definitely into details, and if you get a wrong word or you forget a wrong term, you are going probably to get impacts from people that you didn't need to have, and nevertheless you are going to pay for them. You must really focus on your target population by choosing the right text, the right geographical location, the right focusing, the right wording, the right search terms. Well, that was funny on one side because it makes you work on your creative side inside of you. So you have to be really, really creative compared to Google Ads, in which you have to be effective at a 100% with the least number of words possible. In social advertising, in social networks, you have to be concise, but also creative. You have to catch the attention of the customer, who is completely overwhelmed by the messages of his friends, other promoters, social and politics, bombarding him or her with news. You have to catch her eye with something interesting that drives her attention or his attention to your product, your restaurant, and finally what you want them to do is to make a click. And we learned a lot, and we spent a lot of time. That was the part that I liked the most. Why? Because I come from the marketing world, but let's say from old times when metrics were almost science fiction, and you had to make a lot of guess about the results of your last advertisement in the television. And now with Google Analytics or other tools, you can measure nearly on time or nearly the following day the results of your decisions. So for instance, we saw that people with iPad had better conversion rates than people with mobile. We didn't know how, we didn't have the time to investigate why. We knew that people with laptops had better click-through rate than people with mobile, but at the end of the day, they didn't make reservations. We knew finally, happily, that our buyer persona assumption was the right one, because precisely people watching our ads and going into the website were more or less the people that we had imagined. And which is amazing is that nearly online, in real time, you can have the results of your actions and the testing of your guests.